This is a video for snowmobilers who want to understand counter steering. Counter steering means turning your handlebars the opposite direction to where you want to go, and it's a technique used in every motorsport. But there's a key difference in snowmobiling. With a motorbike or a car, counter steering is like extra for experts. It's optional. Most people drive their entire life without counter steering even once. But on a snowmobile, the moment you leave the trail and try to ride anywhere interesting, you need to counter steer. If you don't have that skill, you're not going to make it in the backcountry, period. Please note, this is not a how to do it video. There are already lots of them and you should watch all of them immediately. This is a why it works video. And I'm not even going to cover every single thing about counter steering. Just two main things. Why counter steering turns your sled in soft snow, and why counter steering gets you on edge on a side hill. If you understand these two things, you should be able to work the rest of it out. For me, understanding why counter steering works gave me confidence. When I understood the mechanical principles, it eliminated any lingering doubt, because for a while I've been hoping that maybe there was a different way of riding so I wouldn't have to learn this tricky skill, but nope. Turns out that counter steering is the only way to unlock the backcountry on a sled. It's an essential skill, but also deeply counterintuitive. I mean, if you're heading for a tree, it's intuitive to back off the throttle and steer away from it, right? It's counterintuitive to stay on the throttle and steer towards it. But following your intuition will slam you into a tree, and counterintuition will carve you around it. Same if you're traversing above a creek or cliff. It's intuitive to back off the throttle, keep the skis carefully on the snow, and steer your heavy machine straight towards the other side of the slope to get it over and done with, right? It's counterintuitive to aim your skis down the hill, hit the throttle hard, and tip the sled on its side. But again, your intuition will send you into the creek, and your counterintuition, once you've learned that skill, will get you safely across the hill, if you've taken the time to learn the skill. And it's frankly amazing how many people try to ride the backcountry without having this basic skill. So that's our mission. Understand counter steering mechanics enough so that you have the confidence to choose the counterintuitive option. That's why it's called counter steering. So here we are, riding our luxury Yamaha Enticer through the forest. It's -30, but you're toasty warm because you've got the bar heaters turned up, the thumb heater turned up, the bum heater turned up, the windshield up, your electric kidney heaters switched on, and the engine vents aimed at your gonads. You're deep in the wilderness, almost 5 minutes from the next restaurant. The trail turns left, you turn your handlebars left, and the snowmobile goes left. You turn them right, and the sled turns right. You've got this sledding thing nailed. Then you spot an open meadow in the distance covered in fresh powder. And although you've never been off trail, you're a bit of a player. You've got some moves. Anyway, how hard can it be? So you head over to slay some pow like you've seen on the tube. Okay, that's the overly long setup. Now let's find out what happens when someone who's never ridden in powder tries to go around a corner. And we'll build a virtual sled so we can see which bits are doing what on the machine. These are the skis, the engine and tunnel, handlebars in red, and that green triangle is your approximate center of mass. And we're looking down from on top, right? So you ride into the powder, give it some gas, you want to go left, so you turn your handlebars left, just like you did on the trail, and immediately, almost nothing happens. It still goes straight. Well, why is that? It worked a minute ago. The first reason is that the sharp metal skegs on the bottom of your skis, they're no longer doing anything to help you change direction because they're not pressing on anything hard. They're not gripping. You're just buried in the soft snow, and the snow is pressing everywhere on both skis, so each ski is turned into a kind of boat rudder. The second reason is that you've got the front of the left ski sticking out left, trying to drag you that way, but the back of the other ski is sticking out right, dragging you the other way, so they cancel each other out. But you're a smart bugger, so you go, aha! I will use reverse psychology and turn my skis the other way, thereby tricking my snowmobile into doing what I want. So although you really want to turn left, you turn your handlebars right. You're counter steering, but still you go straight. For the same reason as before, the ski anchors cancel each other out, even though technically you are counter steering. So why is it not working? It's because you're missing one piece of the puzzle, and that is weight shift. So next time as you counter steer your handlebar to the right, you shift your body to the left, and amazingly your sled starts turning left, even though your handlebars are doing exactly what they did last time when it didn't work. What just happened? What happened is that by shifting your weight, you effectively dropped anchor on one side and lifted anchor everywhere else, and your boat is now swinging around the mooring. The bit in the snow is kind of stopped and everything else wants to keep going. Here's a view of the same thing from behind, and let's make this line the top of the snow, and here you're going straight, and now here's you counter steering right and shifting your weight left. The only part of either ski doing any work is the back of the left ski, stuck out the side. The front of that ski and the entire other ski aren't doing anything. And that is a counter steer turn on a snowmobile. One question might be, why does only the back of the ski anchor in the snow? Why doesn't the whole ski dig in? And there are two things to keep in mind. One is that it's not only the pressing down that turns you, it's also the sticking out. It's the back of the inside ski that pivots away from the center of the sled, creating the anchor inside the turn. The front of the ski pivots towards the center line, so it doesn't have as much impact on what the snowmobile does. The other reason is the design of the ski. Look at it, it can move up at the front like this, but it can't move down. And there's more ski in front of the pivot than behind it, so the front of the ski will get more support from the snow than the back. Also, the ski is a bit wider at the front, so it tends to sink a bit less up there. And the ski curls up at the front, which makes the front of the ski want to rise up to the top of the snow when you move forward. So if you put all these things together, along with some complicated steering and suspension geometry, the front of the ski is happy to stay out of the way when you initiate a counter steer in powder. There you go, that's my take on why counter steering makes the snowmobile turn in powder. Like I said, I'm not giving every single detail, but having this principle in my head helped me figure out the rest, so maybe it'll help you too. So the next part of this video, which again is not for experts, it's for people who are learning, is why you need to counter steer when you're sidehilling. It's kind of the same thing, using the same principles, but I think it helps to explain it in a different way. And just to be clear, sidehilling means riding your snowmobile across a slope instead of up or down it. So if you just follow the contour lines on a map on your snowmobile, that would be sidehilling. So we go to a typical side hill situation. You got a slope you need to get to the other side of, and you should have got set up on edge while it was still flat and easy, but you didn't. And there's a penguin at the bottom that wants to eat you. If you grab the mountain bar and do that thing that people do, you're dinner, mate, penguin dinner. And even if you do somehow make it across to the other side, you're incredibly limited in where you can ride. And you may as well get eaten by a penguin, because riding with you is going to be so boring, your friends are going to kill you anyway, mate. But if you can teach yourself to do the counterintuitive thing of aiming your skis down the hill with counter steer, hitting the throttle hard and tipping the sled in the air on one ski, side hills become a playground for you and a graveyard for starving penguins, and you might even have some friends who want to ride with you. The reason for counter steering on a side hill is this: you want the skis to go down the hill and your center of mass to go up the hill. You need to separate them instead of having one on top of the other. So diagram time again. Here's a sled waiting at the start of a side hill with skis straight ahead. You give it a bit of gas and the center of mass of both you and the sled are going to move straight ahead, or more likely down the hill into the creek. Now if you give the skis a little bit of counter steer and a kind of half-assed hesitant throttle, you'll still mainly go forward, but so long as you're hanging onto the handlebars, you'll also get a little bit of sideways. But it won't be enough to tip the sled over, so you're back to square one, a little closer to the penguin. So finally, you give it maximum counter steer, solid stab of gas, and the skis drive out sideways from under the sled, allowing the center of mass to fall up the hill with only the minimum of forward movement. Voila! If you go far enough, the balance point will be over the uphill ski and the sled will stay there on its own. And if you add in the mass of a rider, it becomes super easy to keep the sled on edge. So that's what I see as the main thing you need to know about counter steering on side hills. It's not the only thing, but it's a thing that helped me understand why I should trust it to get this counterintuitive job done. There's a lot of stuff I haven't talked about, including braking, which is a really, really key part of this. But if you don't have a serious counter steer, none of the other stuff matters. You're not going to be able to side hill. One more thing, you might have heard people talk about getting the engine to do the work, and you wonder, well, what does that mean? And what it means is if you set this up properly with a full counter steer and your body in the right position and a confident whack of throttle, it's like having the rug pulled out from under your sled, or a monster truck doing a backflip. The sled just falls over onto its side. Now, sure, you need confidence and you need pretty quick movements and reactions, but you don't need outright strength. The engine literally does the work for you. That's it. That's what I think about counter steering. If you're new to mountain riding, there are lots of excellent technique videos on YouTube. You can't go wrong with Dan Adams at Next Level, and his videos will show you how to actually do it instead of just blabbing on about why it works. Please let me know if you've noticed something wrong or been confused or you got tips, and I'll pin the best comments so everyone can learn from it.